Thank you very much. For me, it's a really honor being here with you. What I want to talk about with you is a workshop design as a tool for ecosystem collaboration. This is because for me, something really crucial. I'm right now a postdoc at the Università di Bologna in the Department of Management, but at the same time, I also work as a freelancer for facilitating ecosystem for Bologna public administration. That means that my daily job is focusing on the interaction between the public administration, in this case, not university, as the case of KALEIDOS, with the quadruple helix actors. Within KALEIDOS, I took care of the design and implementation of a policy workshop within the university, but also within the university ecosystem, looking at their stakeholders to collect data and input for 3 policy briefs. So I designed the policy workshop at Bologna University. We tested that, and then we helped the partner university to implement that in their universities. The main reason of why is important and why collaboration matter in innovation ecosystem is that knowledge valorization doesn't happen in silos. There is a quadruple helix models. There are 4 actors in that quadruple helix model, as Maria presented before, but the ecosystem is just one. So the problem is that maybe a lot of time those actors rarely interact and share a common language, common space, a common agenda, a way in which they can actually build something together. So workshop can act as a structured place for cross-sector dialogue. Sorry, the heat wave in Bologna is pretty intense. We develop, as I was saying, 2 models, a workshop university level and a workshop at the ecosystem at the European Union level. They have the same design, but they are adapted to the 2 different contexts. So the objective of the first workshop was to collect the assessment and develop policy recommendation for knowledge valorization practices for university governance, while the second workshop, it was the same, but for ecosystem actors and European Union policymakers. We developed 2 different canvas in the first case and 3 different for the second one, starting with an individual level and going for organizational level in the first case, and the second, organization, ecosystem, European Union level. This is a way to start from the micro level and going deeper and deeper in the needs and the ecosystem perspective, going for the macro level. But the workshop duration was around 3 hours with more or less the same structure. So a plenary introduction of the workshop and the KALEIDOS and the main objective. The working tables included a coffee break, and then a plenary debriefing with all the participants. So my main objective with this webinar is talking about how we can use workshop in facilitating ecosystem work. Before the workshop, we have to start with the preparation itself, as is a key moment for mapping the ecosystem, mapping what is happening, mapping the interaction between different people. So at the university level, we focus on internal university stakeholders. That could be KTO managers, research manager, open science representative, rector delegates, public engagement officers. We decided to balance different criteria, gender, but also STEM faculties versus humanities faculties, and central administrations versus departments. In the end, we had around 10 participants in 2 tables. For the ecosystem European level, we focused on the external actors, still including the university manager, because they are part of the quadruple helix. So we focused on inviting public sector officials, private companies, civil society organizations, but also innovation hubs, incubators. And for that, when we designed the participant to invite and also the working table, we take into consideration the balancing between the actors at the quadruple helix level and still the gender balance. Indeed, the invitation is a design act, is a moment in which we already start to facilitate the relationship and interaction between ecosystem, between manager for the university level. We have to take something home from this workshop. In our case, it was a policy recommendation, but also it has to be a moment in which we give back something to the participants. So in each invitation, we have to be sure to clear what is up for them in this meeting. Also because this can help invitee to see what it can be useful for them in participating. So it can be networking, can be co-design, it is the influence on the policy or the guidelines. It can also be free coffee if this is up to them. So I recommend to invite, to set invitation tailored for each invitee category, but also share in the invitation some of the project materials to build shared content and allow people to understand what they are up to do during the workshop. We also, before the workshop itself, we have to prepare the canvases. So what we are actually work on. This is another strategic choices. In some other workshop, people prefer to just let people talk and take notes on that. It can be useful if you want to really focus on the interaction and the debriefing movement, but I would suggest to work on canvases because it's also a way to have a final tool to work in the end. So in this workshop, we decided to structure the dialogue starting for the university level, at the individual, and then organizational level. We used really simple canvases designed ad hoc for the workshop. So we used the policy areas divided for knowledge valorization as categorized by European Union with just a few adaptations. And we decided to look at the present assessment of university, but also taking a sight on the future and focus on future action. Working on this, at the end, both the table were able to write some recommendation. The same canvas was used with the same structure, was used at the organizational level. Regarding the Ecosystem European Union workshop, we decided to start at the micro level with the whole organization, then switch on the ecosystem level, and then still focus on the policy recommendation at the ecosystem level, focus on what to improve and the best practice to export, and at the European level, asking ourselves what the European Union can do to foster knowledge valorization in the whole Europe. So we started with an individual assessment with this canvas that allowed each organization representative to understand what they were for their definition of knowledge valorization, their goal, the obstacles, but also the interaction with other actors. I have to say that I'm really proud on this canvas because a lot of participants asked us to have it for their own organization as a starting point to starting a dialogue and open a dialogue about this thematic. Then we focused on the whole ecosystem, and the organization had to start to work together and interact and share their initial canvas. And here they started to also focus on what European Union policymakers can do to help the ecosystem. And then we had the policy recommendation canvas focusing on what to improve and the best practice to export at the ecosystem level and the aim of policy recommendation suggested action at the European level. These are examples of Canvas. Actually, with the project, we want to share them at the end of the project and make them available to everybody because we tested them and we think that can be useful. So we will provide also some guidelines how to use them. But they are not the only thing to take care about. We have to also focus on what to do during the workshop to help the communication and interaction between the participants. So facilitator here is not just a moderator of the workshop, is a process architect. It has to keep time and make sure that everybody is working, especially in when they start to work on the table session, because it's really easy that people distract themselves or focus too much on one stuff and they get stuck in something else. So having a completed canvas, just a draft, can help facilitator to guide the group if it's stuck, but also is main job of the facilitator to ensure that all voices are heard, because a lot of time at the table there are different hierarchy or different power dynamics. So it has to facilitate the participation and the voice for quieter participants. There are some practical tips that we would like to suggest. First, you can prepare all the match that you want, but also expect the unexpected. It happens in a case of us that one table wasn't really into doing the individual job at the start with the Canvas at organizational level. So we allowed them and we restructured in the meantime, just for their table, the possibility to work together on that canvas. A second suggestion is to print canvases, work on hard copies, because often this kind of manager, this kind of participants allow themselves to distract if they use some digital devices. Because for sure, if someone is working on their laptop or their phone, they will be tempted in looking at their emails. And last but not least, the coffee breaks are not just a way to provide some liquid or some treats to the participant, but also it's a networking moment. It's a moment in which people stop to be constrained by the canvases and can actually take a step further into the conversation and the confront on the topics. For the debriefing is a collective sense-making. It's a moment in which we take a step further from the what is written in the canvases, and we work on the main insights. So it's important to allow a referee for each table to present the key outputs. Usually for us, it was the last canvas, or the key recommendation they considered the most important, because it's a moment in which you can empower the participant, the table, and see that the work has a meaning for the others. It is a productive moment. At the same time, we recommend some shared 3 questions that can be used in all possible workshop, not just policy recommendation workshop. First, ask the participant what are the most significant insight that they had in the conversation. This because it is a moment for us to assess what are their priorities, what for them it was useful in their interaction for the people, because a lot of time people say something like, yes, we never thought about this specific aspect, but when the other participant highlight that, we saw that it was fundamental, and we have to take that more into consideration. Also, I recommend to ask what is the most important or the most strategic issue that emerged, because that helped us and to prioritize the intervention. For the policy recommendation, it was, for example, the level in which we have to work to allow a domino effect, for example. Last but not least, and this is something that I think is important in any qualitative data collection moment, asking what we have not discussed, what didn't emerge in the workshop, because sometimes people are so captured in the flow of the workshop that they leave something behind. Capture also this thing is crucial, because a lot of time these things are the thing that we are taking for granted. Leaving a space for people to talk about that help in catching more value than just the value catched in the canvases. It's important also to think about what is happening at the end of the workshop. First of all, we have to thank all the participants, not just because they helped us in collecting the information that we wanted, but also because it is crucial for us to continue the networking, to continue to work with these people, and also allow the networking that they developed during the workshop to continue to happen. So let the relationship to build going outlast the event. It's important also, if possible, to share the outputs. For us, for this kind of workshop, at the moment, it was almost impossible to share the results of the canvases, because for us, that was just raw data. But we are using this raw data to develop these 3 policy briefs, and we will share at the end of the project, KALEIDOS project, all the information about the project itself, the website, the tools developed, but also the policy briefs. So the participant can see what actually have contributed to. So my key takeaways from this webinar is that diversity is a choice by design. Mixing the participant allows to catch different perspectives and also to go deeper into the ecosystem view. I recommend to use progressive structure, especially in designing the canvas and designing activities. So starting at the micro level, at the individual or the organizational level for ecosystem workshop, allowing to start with an initial reflection of the state of art that go for the meso and the macro level. So going from, okay, I'm thinking by myself to I'm thinking as part of the ecosystem. Canvas are a conversation tool, but not stress ourselves and participants on completed them. The most important thing is that they are talking, that they are reflecting on that. So for us, it was crucial, the research part, the policy recommendation part, but the else, it's just more data, more tool to start a conversation. Facilitation is also a process design. The facilitation shape the space, not the content. We never let ourselves as facilitator to contribute to the canvas per se, but we helped in facilitating the conversation, in asking people that were not speaking at the table what their perspective was, what they thought it was important. And last but not least, workshop create networks. That is the main actual objective of the workshop, not the content or whatever, but let give the participant the opportunity to interact and build also other opportunity of interaction. Because what happened to us, for example, and that we took this workshop, and then we were invited to workshop organized by the participants, letting the dialogue about knowledge valorization and open science to grow at the whole ecosystem level. So thank you very much for listening to me, and for also Mireia and the KALEIDOS project to allow me to talk about this topic that for me is really important. Please feel free to reach me whenever you have a question or for whatever comments you want to leave me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Silvia. That was really interesting and very insightful. We have now some space for questions from the chat. Before we receive them, I have one question connected to how can you, because you are invited in those workshops, really different profiles of professionals and from very different sectors. So, and you mentioned that the invitation was actually a key initial space for the knowledge valorization intermediaries, the managers at the research organization. So how you adapt or define the content so that all those actors feel kind of compelled or interested in participating in the workshop?
So we designed the invitation of the workshop itself in a way in which we were able to clarify what we were looking for, why they were important in the table, in discussing that with us, and how their participation was an empowering moment, a moment in which they were able to have a say in what university was doing, because from this workshop, we also developed the part of the action plan that are part of the output of KALEIDOS. So it was a moment for us to actually listen to these people, and we were really careful in making that clear to them. So it was not just, okay, we are inviting you to do our job, but this is a moment in which we can help you and you can help yourself.
That's great. Thank you. You mentioned the connection with the action plans. And actually, I was wondering how you connect these policy workshops that you have implemented at the different levels with the kind of the strategic planning of the organization to transition into a systemic approach like this, to an implementation embedded in the strategy of the centers. How is those things connected?
In the first workshop, we focused on the university level, and we actually designed part one of the row of the canvases to catch what it was important as future action of the university. So we did the initial assessment, and then we focused on that. And that helped us to identify at the university level what it was important. Then we used part of those results as a conversation starter for the ecosystem level workshop, because the part of the participants of the university workshop were invited to represent the university perspective at the quadruple helix model in the ecosystem level. And they had this kind of information with them. So we also revalidate those future action with the whole ecosystem, making sure that it was also what they were considering important for us. Then when we started to work on the action plan, that we worked in a separate way designed by University of Barcelona, that was a partner of KALEIDOS. We invited part of those managers and other people from, in our case, the knowledge transfer office, to look at all of those insights together. And we decided to focus on some that were relevant both for us, but also for the ecosystem.
Great. I have a couple of questions from the audience. So one is, what are the criteria, or how do you define the most suitable participants to those workshops? Like, what is the criteria to say, well, this is a suitable profile to invite to this workshop or another?
For the university level, we decided to balance, Bologna University is a really huge university with a lot of central office. For example, we have a central office for innovation, a central office for research, a knowledge transfer office divided between intellectual property management and entrepreneurship and ecosystem collaboration. So we took also all these different offices into consideration when we decided who to invite, but also at each faculty level, we have a representative for the third mission, a representative for public engagement, an open science responsible representative, and we invited also these figures. And also we are a generalistic university, so we take into consideration both STEM and engineering perspective that maybe are more able to interact with companies, but also humanities that a lot of time interact more with public administration and civil society. So we balance all of this. For the ecosystem and the European Union level, we decided to invite organizations that actually interact with the university, because using the self-assessment tool that Miraya presented before, we mapped the ecosystem, university ecosystem, and we use those mapping for deciding who to invite. And we decided to balance between the quadruple helix. So we've invited public administration, civil society, private sector, and university manager. But we decided, taking consideration also our need of having a European Union perspective, we invited also those kind of actors that we know are really active in the Bologna region in European Union project, and they are able to have this broader perspective.
That's great. Thanks for that, because it gives an overview of how diverse are the profiles that you should invite and the different layers that are relevant to consider when you organize such a workshop. There's a final question before we end, and it's connected to the questions that are not directly addressed in the canvases. So you mentioned that you have questions already stated in the canvases, but then you should give room for questions that are not directly listed or presented in the canvases. And the question is where those questions should be posed: during the development of the session, during the debriefing, or when is the best moment to pose those questions, as they interact or at the end?
As they're working in tables, what we will suggest is to have a facilitator for each table that just maybe take notes and help to let the conversation flow. And if it is stuck, they can ask some question to go deeper in what they were talking about. So think the table is more as focus groups. While the 3 questions that are presented in the end, I would suggest that to do in the debriefing. In our case, they were a whole slide in our presentation. So we actually projected those questions, one per time, and we went deeper in that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Silvia. I think with that, we conclude the Q&A session. Thanks for joining us in this session. Thanks for the insightful presentation of the workshops and how to design them and how to implement it. I hope it was useful for the audience. This session is going to be recorded as the previous ones and will be shared via the KALEIDOS social website and social media. So for those that would like to recuperate or revisit the presentation, it's going to be available online. And I just wanted to close by mentioning that we are working on a final conference or a final event for the KALEIDOS project that is going to come in September. So we are really looking forward to this event, which is still in the shaping form, but that for which we have already a date. It's going to be the 16th of September. So please save the date for that event, in which we will both present the KALEIDOS learnings and insights, and we will aim at having many different voices, not only from the consortium, but from other funded projects, from the ecosystems participating and other European actors. So we invite you all to just note down that date. We will be sending you more information as the meeting is designed and enhanced. So yeah, just keep an eye on that on our project networks and website. And with that, thank you very much to everybody. We will be updating with news from the project through social media. Thanks for joining all those webinars. We hope they were useful and relevant for you, and looking forward to seeing you all in September. Thank you very much. Have a great day.